Hello, my name is Sarah, and today I'm going to go over the unseen conditions in the built environment. Before I get into this project, I want to introduce myself and kind of talk about why I'm here at Western and pursuing a career in interior design. Back in high school, I progressed in a lot of construction and maintenance classes in high school. It brought me to think that I was going to pursue a career in the trades, but as I explored and traveled with my grandpa, I discovered the underlying beauty in architecture and design. Traveling for me wasn't about checking places off a list, it was more about experiencing an array of colors, styles, and design, and that left a mark on me. This past year, I've learned a lot and thought about what may be in the cards for me in the future. I thought about commercial hospitality design, and that's pretty much at the top of my list right now. There's something special about places where people gather and where my designs facilitate groups of people to discuss memories that they may make within them. My journey is to create spaces that function, utilizing and appreciating traditional skills while also incorporating new ideas from my travels and experiences. I'm excited to continue this journey and today present to you my project for the unseen conditions in the built environment. So for this project, I had to do some preliminary research about osteogenesis imperfecta. Osteogenesis imperfecta is also commonly known as brittle bone disease, and this condition is characterized by fragile, easily broken bones. It's a genetic disorder which is defined by the lack of collagen protein in your bones, and this condition may have many different types depending on levels of severity. Patients with this condition also experience skeletal deformities. These include fractures of the bones within the eyes or ears, and it actually causes 50% of patients to experience hearing or vision loss. I also want to point out 1 in 20 individuals, or 1 in 20,000 individuals are diagnosed, and roughly 50,000 people have OI in the US. So now when it comes to diagnosis, doctors will perform many clinical evaluations, genetic testing, x-rays, and bone density tests. And lastly, I want to cover some of the treatments that many patients undergo, including my client for this project, which is a variety of bone strengthening medications, physical therapy, surgeries, and also just utilizing supportive aids and or assistive devices. So my client for this project is Nico Watson. He's a 6-year-old boy from Lower Borough, Pennsylvania, and he was diagnosed with OI before he was even born. However, like many other kids, he has developed traits despite his medical limitations. He enjoys art, playing outdoors, reading, and learning. I've also included some anthropometrics to sort of visualize some common poses and activities that he takes up, with not only the general idea of his measurements while sitting in a wheelchair or standing. I've also included here anthropometrics of him sitting at a desk to do homework, and also him playing with toys and engaging in a physical activity. These activities are a part of his daily routine, and as seen below the anthropometrics, I have created a diagram of what Nico's day in the life may look like while having OI. Some of these routines consist of keeping up with bone strengthening nutritious meals throughout the day, physical therapy, attending to any medical appointments, or just keeping track with his parents of his medications that he needs to take throughout the day, and also just taking part of homeschooling during the day. The pie chart below is basically a range of the activities that takes up most of his time and are also the most important aspects of Nico's life. So with that being said, the medical attention and physical therapy is at the forefront and takes up most of this pie chart, but following that is just the safety and well-being of Nico, his schooling, nutrition, and also the creativity and independence that comes along with growing up and being a kid. So before diving in on how I wanted to actually design Nico's live-learn space, I wanted to grab some inspiration to sort of guide me how I wanted to lay out my bubble diagram as seen in the bottom right here of my page. I discovered a project designed by a company called Turner & Sons Homes, and as shown here, they designed a home for a family with 5 children who are also being homeschooled. So given their budget, property, and just the wishes from Ashley and her husband Mike, they designed a space that fitted their needs of their large family. I noticed that they also included a room dedicated for their children's homeschooling, and knew that I also needed to create a quiet, private space as well for Nico's schooling. The layout is also large and very open, limiting the use of too many hallways. So I took that concept and brought it into my space as well to prevent any obstacles or winding paths. And I think this is very important for Nico to avoid these obstacles and winding paths due to his condition. I also wanted to address that his family would be living here as well. So also just providing in general enough rooms with adequate square footage in each was crucial for Nico's family and this project as a whole. So here is the overview and site plan for this project. This is, as I've said, a live-learn space for Nico, and my concept reads as follows. Creating a safe, stimulating environment for a child with OI. The space will incorporate a safe and accessible environment to allow Nico to grow under the care of his parents, but while also developing independently. The family is living here and is able to explore an inclusive community that sees no boundaries to the child's abilities. So now I want to kind of shift our eyes towards the right of my page. This is the site plan, and right here is the approximate 2,000 square foot property that sits on the site in the Kalamazoo area near Western Michigan University's campus. I've also provided below a brief cognitive map to depict Nico's experience in going from the site to a nearby playground. So I wanted to think of a destination that he would also be frequently going to as a 6-year-old boy, and what better than that than a playground. So I've highlighted in pink the safe destinations being the home and the playground, and then in between those destinations I have memorable landmarks from the journey to and from being a convenience store and some park benches. These icons and landmarks are just kind of a psychological reminder to Nico and to a parental guardian that is with him, to remind him that these things are places that he may see on the walk to and from the playground. I also pointed out marks of safety concern, one with hills and pathways, given Kalamazoo's hilly terrain, and as well as possible intersections and crosswalks as a reminder of maintaining the pedestrian, their own pedestrian safety throughout the journey. Green space, such as trees and grass, are also marked as resting points for Nico, given he may need the rest due to his condition. The green space evokes a sense of biophilia, which is the elements that we as humans connect with to nature. I also want to point out some of Gestalt's theory of proximity, given the arrangement of the benches and paths that signal that he is nearby the playground. Nico's psychological process through all of this is just kind of an experiential journey, which can present challenges of uneven surfaces, slopes, and possibly even stairs. So by adapting to this journey and going to and from the playground often during the week, Nico is already increasing his own physical strength, but also while still managing his balance of how much energy he's exerting to protect his own bone health. So before I get into the floor plan, I want to talk about Fromm's psychological needs and how this applies to a child with OI. For Nico, his psychological needs best pair with transcendence, but also rootedness. I've created this hierarchy with this triangle here that dives deeper into what you may expect from Nico and how he may eventually grow and develop into his own transcendence. Nico's rootedness kind of comes from him being under the care of his parents, given that he is 6 years old and still needs that physiological needs. But as we move up in the hierarchy, we find out that Nico will eventually develop a sense of safety and security inside and outside of the home, bringing him a sense of belonging among friends, family, and the new people he may meet along the way. Due to Nico also, again, only being a child, we can only expect him to get stronger with every milestone he achieves. Think of this in a way of your child making their first steps, riding the bicycle for the first time, those kind of things. You know, we're expecting milestones and milestones along the way, and this just involves him and his parents setting goals to set new standards within his own capabilities from his condition. This just may be coming over some hurdles with physical therapy and gaining some of that physical strength. So kind of just things like that to think about. With this, by achieving these kind of goals, he's still growing throughout the process, and there's that sense of self-discovery and ultimately Nico's transcendence and purpose in life when he becomes an adult. Below of this triangle, I also want to talk about this little diagram to acknowledge some of the design strategies for the Live Learn space. So in blue, I've pointed out strategies integrating an inclusive learning environment. This kind of portrays the adaptive furniture I've included in the space, and also just the interactive learning tools in the zones and rooms for various activities. In orange, I highlighted the safest areas in the home that kind of promote the injury prevention. These rooms were also where the child may be the most social with the family, whether that be the assistance that he may need in the playroom or just kind of being watched over by a parent, or even if he needs assistance in the bathroom. And then finally in pink, I drew circles between the rooms, and this kind of just promotes Nico's way of navigating throughout the space. This integrates his independence building and just kind of normalizing his day in the life routines and the entire home as a whole. So moving forward, I have filled out this programming chart that kind of breaks down each space and room and the level of privacy, square footage, furniture, adjacencies, acoustical and lighting requirements, comfort needs, and then also specialty design features. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole chart, but I did want to point out some of the specialty design features within the home. So as seen in the bedroom and bathroom, I have noted to include accessible handrails. This kind of goes back to my concept about designing an accessible environment for Nico. I've included round furnishings and non-slip flooring as a common theme as well to kind of throughout the home to prevent accidents or injuries toward the child given his condition. If he easily were to bump into furniture that is sharp, that would kind of cause a fracture versus him bumping into a furniture that is rounded. It might just be a little less injury to his body. So as well as the adjustable furnishings, just kind of having those adjustable, comfortable furnishings in the space to promote a comfortable and safe place to live and learn. And with that, here is the floor plan that I have designed for Nico's Live Learn home. Once again, I have noted on the right or on the left here that this is an open concept layout, which is still functional for a single family home. I would also like to point out the separate rooms that Nico has. This is for physical therapy, his schooling study room, and also the playroom. This kind of all goes back to my concept of separating the various rooms in regards to its specific function for Nico to kind of make it part of his day in the life routine, getting used to the different rooms and their specific purposes. These rooms also include non-slip flooring that where Nico may be spending a majority of his time to prevent these potential falls or fractures to his bones. And lastly, I want to talk about the bedroom being independent from the parents' room. This is kind of because though Nico is living here under the care of his parents, he's still very much growing independently, and he needs to learn how to adapt on his own and in his own space as well. His room is larger given the fact that he may be in his wheelchair sometimes and he may need that 5-foot radial space. So that is why we're going back to the independent growing and kind of building his own day in the life routine, but also still being under the guidance of his parents if he needs. Moving on, here is an east view, sectional view of the home. The rooms depicted in this section are Nico's parents' room, the physical therapy room, his study room, the bathroom, and of course his bedroom. Below are some of the common furnishings and materials that I'm using in these spaces. And again, to note that the assistive devices included in Nico's physical therapy room kind of make part of his daily routine in terms of exercising or stretching. I have also chosen these comfortable beanbag seating options besides his bed in his bedroom to allow another option just to relax his joints and bones in a private space. And these are two elevation views, one being the bathroom and the other being Nico's study room. I created the bathroom elevation to kind of visually show the ADA accessible handbars that are integrated in its design to help Nico when he needs it or when he's using it, whether he's in a wheelchair or not. As far as the study room, I wanted to point out the computer that can allow touchscreen, going back to one of the strategies that I have included for an engaging homeschooling environment for him. Furthermore, I have a plant in the room for the study space. Plants actually improve the air quality, reduce stress, and it also brings up that sense of biophilia into play, allowing Nico to have a tactile and visual connection to nature while he's indoors. And these next few slides are going to be showing a few perspective drawings, each important for Nico's needs and important spaces. But first, I'm here to show the physical therapy room perspective. Again, take a look at the materials that I've chosen on the side that point out the different elements in this room. I want to point out again all these different physical therapy devices that Nico can utilize in the space while also being safe with the non-slip carpet. Physical therapy can be kind of intimidating at times, so especially for children his age and with the condition that he has. So I like to include these kid-friendly graphics on the wall to kind of remind them that he's in a safe space, and physical therapy can be interactive and fun too. Next, I have this kitchen perspective. Some materiality details that I really want to point out here is the high contrast in color between floors, walls, and cabinets. These contrasting colors are useful for Nico and just kind of help him distinguish between the elements in the space, but I will also go into that more later with the color theory as well. And this is Nico's bedroom, again displaying the other part of the room that isn't just his bed, to also represent that this is also a space that is private, but he doesn't just need for sleeping. He can be in here in private just to have some alone time or sit on the comfortable beanbag seating options that we see again here. Integrating these fun furnishings like this tree lamp also bring back that biophilia and sense of safety and just comfort in a more private room that he has. And lastly, this is the playroom. This is an open room with a non-slip area rug for him to enjoy social activities and his toys whenever he isn't focusing on school or therapy. All right, so moving on, I want to break down some of the thermal, visual, and audible needs that are included in this design. First are the thermal conditions, and here I've diagrammed insulation, bedding, and air circulation icons that I've used in the design. So insulation stabilizes indoor air temperatures, airflow can combat stuffiness and just improves the overall air quality throughout the space. And also breathable bedding just offers a temporary solution to regulate temperature if needed. And now moving on to visual conditions, I want to ensure lighting is sufficient. So I've incorporated recessed can lighting into the design, and it is also adjustable and dimmable in every room in the home. The lamps in the home also kind of offer the same kind of feeling with the dimming, the elements of a softer, warmer lighting, so it's not so straining on Nico's eyes and the bones within them. As I mentioned before, the contrasting colors are also important features that Nico can distinguish between the different elements in his environment. And then finally, an open concept layout, again, is just visually promoting a space that limits falls and collisions that tight hallways and winding paths would. So lastly, audible conditions are also very important. So we just want to overall, if there's any devices in the home that have any sound, we want to minimize those loud noises and prevent noises that will startle Nico. to make sure that these devices have adjustable settings dedicated for his needs and comfort. Also, just incorporating separate areas for Nico to study, or even just have alone time. I have the quiet space that is linked to his bedroom that can just allow him to privately reflect and relax without needing to even walk or wheel to the study room. And finally, I'm going to briefly go over this diagram that represents a little bit of color theory and materiality within the space. Again, notice the contrasting colors within the wheel I've provided. The greens provide a sense of biophilia, connection to nature, and the blue contrasts the lighter hues of the wheel to kind of promote a bolder color to help distinguish the elements. I also included this yellow color that you may have noticed throughout due to its high contrast as well, but it's also a color that isn't too overstimulating for Nico. The gray and beige tones that I've used throughout are mainly seen in the flooring and some furnishings, but this just kind of provides a neutral backdrop for the space versus those contrasting colors that I've used. Black is also used. This is used a lot on the fixtures and the trim of the home due to its ultimate contrast versus the other colors. It just has great visibility. It's easy to see. It's clear to see that this is the window and this is the wall. So now as I go over the Gestalt theories, I want to look over the materials that I've included to the left that are used consistently throughout the home. Kind of think about these materials as I'm going over the theories. For example, the law of proximity contains furniture groups within the plan to kind of offer a space that's easy to navigate for Nico, ultimately reducing the risk of his injuries or any fractures. Look at the similar stains of the wood and the flooring. This kind of portrays Gestalt's law of similarity. This uses similar color schemes, similar styles that help the child associate with the different areas or objects. And then finally, the law of continuity is used within the floor's layout. This is just that law that limits that sharp turn or twist. Carpet to wood or vice versa is also an excellent signal that this room may be ending and you may be entering a new space with carpet or vice versa. These color and material choices kind of all influence Nico's movement throughout the space. And with that kind of wraps up my presentation on OI and the unseen conditions in the built environment. Thank you for listening.